What's a sign that somebody wasn't raised right? Lack of personal accountability. They can never admit wrongdoing on their part. It's always someone else's fault. You give them a lift and they leave rubbish in your car. How they act as a boss when their employee messes up. Yelling and belittling shouldn't be your first option. Who are the guys who spit out their chewing gum into urinals? I see this all the time at work, and I work in a high-end corporate place. Do they think it dissolves and goes down the pipe? The janitor has to pick that out. Disrespecting people for doing their job. They always portray themselves as a victim. Nothing is ever their fault and somebody is always out to get them. One rule for me, one rule for you. Parents that mess up on the discipline, accountability stage of parenting produce these people. If they make messes in public areas and just wander off. Leaving trash in the theater. Not flushing. Leaving the cart in a parking space. Edit. Forgot the theater thing is the norm in Britain. I meant in general. Leaving a mess where it's not supposed to be. They don't have manners or respect anyone. They never see what they do wrong. How they treat people from whom they have nothing to gain. The word no just means throw a fit and be as obnoxious as you can be until you get your way. No does not mean that rules are rules or someone's job might be on the line. They're the important one, not anyone else. Not respecting personal boundaries. If you're wondering why someone has these sorts of issues, take a look at their parents. How they treat animals and people without power. They don't take responsibility for their actions. Someone that does things to intentionally hurt another person's feelings after they've expressed that certain thing hurts their feelings. I know a few of these types of people, and they tend to have one or more of the following traits. 1. They are disrespectful to everyone, not just authority figures. Watch how they treat customer service or retail staff. 2. They have no manners in general, or only use manners when they absolutely have to in order to preserve their own interests. 3. They are cruel to people and/or animals, and laugh at the suffering of others. 4. They are selfish. 5. They destroy things, steal, and cheat. Some also commit more serious crime. 6. They expect handouts from everyone. 7. They shirk hard work and responsibility whenever they can. 8. They complain a lot, and constantly act like they are a victim. 9. They are terrible parents to their own children. If someone thinks hurting or treat an animal inhumane is alright, I love animals, especially my cat and dog. I speak out when I see someone treating their dog poorly. It really reflects at dog parks and how their pet reacts. They litter. If you throw your shit on the floor, then you have 1. No respect, and 2. You're a tramp. They use suicide threats as manipulation. They never say please or thank you. Always pay attention to how someone treats service industry workers, animals, and young children. I'm gonna answer this literally. As a teacher, I see there's a lot of different values that go into parenting styles. Some that aren't my values but still raise a productive, responsible, and successful child. But there is evidence of bad parenting from a child development point of view, is extra clingy and implies or outright states you're their sole custodian for their well-being, is incredibly aggressive about getting their way or being correct all the time, responds to slights or inconveniences violently, is extremely withdrawn and doesn't care for self. On the flip side, is very self-sufficient from a very young age and also has anxiety and/or depression. Seeks attention constantly. Not just a lot, but constantly. Obviously, the child abuse signs are indicators of not being raised right, and only apply here to actual children. But it never hurts to remind people of them. Has suspicious bruising, injuries on body where it's not normal to have injuries. X. Bruised forehead and skinned knees are normal on toddlers. Black eyes are not. Carefully covers parts of the body that would not normally be covered. X. Won't roll up sleeves even a little on hot days, which, bonus, is also a sign of self-harm. Is inappropriately sexual and/or knowledgeable about sexuality for age group. Is weirdly afraid to be alone with another person. Not just, I don't want to go home because my dad's gonna give me a whoopin' for starting a fight at school, but something like finding a lot of excuses to not hang out with an older cousin ever. Is often dirty, stinky, soiled, is often underfed, tells you they are being abused. I took this way too seriously. But there you go. Edit. People are commenting with personal situations that involve the warning signs of child abuse I mentioned, but aren't child abuse in their case. This is what makes it so hard to detect. Kids are always bruised, stinky, and secretive. What's important is to keep an open mind and sort of observe a pattern of signs and behaviors. If alarm bells go off, our first impulse is to explain it away, but making an anonymous tip is not as harmful as people believe. In my experience, nothing is even investigated until the reports pile up unless you physically witness the abuse. Edit 2. Just to be clear, the first list just means the parents or household should be better to optimally encourage the wellness of a child. The second is of warning signs of abuse. They whistle, snap their fingers, or make that PS sound to get their server's attention in a restaurant. They apologize for every little thing. Probably a sign that they grew up with abusive parents that got mad over anything and everything. Turning conversation back to themselves at all cost. Being a good listener is a sign of a person raised well. Edit. To clarify, I don't mean quiet or a doormat. I mean generous, empathetic, supportive and curious, good follow-up questions without making it about oneself, etc. They attack essential employees for enforcing company policy. I'd say on the other end of the spectrum, if someone is anxious about simple social interactions, like sharing their opinions, not putting the cart back at the grocery store, in their spare time they dress up like a bat and beat up the mentally ill. I dunno man. That dude from 8th grade who made the teacher cry and kept on going and laughing and she was like in her 20s or 30s. They don't know how to do normal household stuff. I've seen people that don't even know how to make their own coffee or clean a toilet. They leave trash in theater and state that it's the employee's job to clean up their mess. They don't actually listen to what you're saying, are just trying to formulate a response. Littering. Goddamn fucking littering. We know someone that won't get a checking account, direct deposit because the banks just steal your money. And he takes his paycheck to a check-cashing, payday loan shop instead. We also know his mom, who is in her mid-40s and on her third bankruptcy. Edit. Not discounting the likelihood that mom destroyed his credit long ago and still would empty his account today if given the chance, which still falls in the raised wrong category if you ask me. But we're talking about a 20-year-old guy living with mom, no rent, no car, no kids that shouldn't have any substantial debts, expenses of his own to make overdraft fees an issue. They don't say thank you to food servers. Someone brings you food. You say thanks. It ain't hard. They one-up you all the time. Thinking abusive, manipulative behaviors are the norm. They cannot take responsibility for their actions. They blame others for everything, even things that have no blame to place. They don't put their shopping cart in the proper place when they're done with it. If they have zero manners, they gossip about others and will be vindictive behind people's backs, but pretend to be sweet to their face. People who don't offer to help you clean up when they're visiting you. Like having friends over and them leaving you with all the beer bottles, bowls and glasses on the table. I don't mind cleaning up, but I always offer when at someone else's house. You make the mess together. When they say that they deserved being physically abused. If you go to someone's house, and they cook for you, you eat it with a big smile and lots of thanks. Even if it was garbage. My wife brought her friend over for lunch. I made pierogies. She goes, "That's not a meal. That's a side." And goes to get Quiznos. Blew me away. Someone's hospitality is the deepest respect they can show you. You have to give it back. How conscientious you are of that scenario is a good sign on how you were raised. They find it amusing to annoy others even when no one else finds it amusing at all. Talking about themselves constantly, reverting every conversation back to them, etc., and not paying their full bill. The way they treat an animal. If you're abusive to your pet, I have no sympathy for you. The amount of love that an animal can offer deserves the utmost respect. They don't ask for things. They expect things. I find this is usually the case for people who grew up very well off. So whatever this kid turns out to be is the answer to your question. I follow some trashy people from grade school on social media. There is one that is also posting memes for shit like, "If your girl sucked dick like this you know she loves it," or, "I want a man that's dirty enough to fuck in the bathroom at family dinner. She has an 8-year-old kid." My future fiance and I sometimes look and think, could you imagine if we friended the mom of our 3rd grader and this was her fucking social media? Jesus Christ. We aren't in contact. But I am almost certain that this kid won't be raised right. Inviting themselves to others people's homes or gatherings. Edit. This is now my most liked comment on Reddit. Thanks internet people. Nice to me. Rude to the waiter. A simple lack of manners sums up most issues. 1. Leaving trash on fast food tables. They have people for that. 2. Treating waiters or servers like garbage. 3. Disregard for the environment and littering. 4. Acting entitled to certain things like items at a store or discounts. 5. Large attention-grabbing tantrums. Not dealing with their trash. People go up and down the road leading to my neighborhood. The dump for our half of the city is right next to it. And let their trash fly out. Makes me wanna find an address in their trash and dump it on their porch. On a further note, smokers who don't take care of their waste. My neighbor smokes, and if a part of the package falls off he will let it lie. He will let the butts stay there if he does not see a trash can. It makes me wanna thrash his throat. Excessively emphasizing how masculine they are.